Hi, everybody, and welcome to our podcast. This is the Holistic Inner Balance podcast. What we like to do is to highlight women and men who are entrepreneurs and they have wonderful businesses that really align with the health and wellness model of this podcast. And today we have an amazing guest. This is Carolyn Rose, and I will introduce her in just a second. But there is just so much alignment that happens with the business that Carolyn is doing right now, as well as the things that we are creating with Holistic Inner Balance. And we really want to talk about the synergies that are involved in our businesses, and that's why we're going to be promoting her today. So this is Carolyn Rose. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor.
So Carolyn is a psychic medium and Reiki practitioner. She co-owns the Wild Women Wellness Center, which is a community resource for mind, body, and spirit health for all genders in Chichester, New Hampshire. She also provides psychic medium and energy healing related services such as mediumship, card readings, past life readings, birth chart, and I'm not going to be able to say this. Synastry readings?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Thank you. Okay. Guide, channeling, and Reiki. She also provides mentorship and classes to empower people to access and learn how to work with their own abilities. So again, welcome, Carolyn. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is such an amazing opportunity to talk to you. I know that I have shared some space with you and really appreciated the services that you provide. So before we kind of launch into that, if you can describe one thing that you do for yourself with your whole self-care journey, can you describe one thing that you do maybe on a daily basis?
There's a few different things that are really core parts of my practice. I would say one of the things that I do every day, regularly, all day long, and one of the first things that I would share with clients who, especially those who are empathic or intuitive, is just hydration. And it sounds so simple, but it really makes such a big difference.
It's true. It's really true. I've done some different videos on self-care, and that is one thing that I struggle with is to get enough hydration. And, that is a constant struggle for me. For a while, I kind of was in the thought of, well, I only drink when I'm thirsty, but that really is never enough. So I love that you incorporate that and you are mindful of that, because how often do we even think that that is a priority in our life, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And energy, being kind of present with a lot of energy can be very dehydrating. So not only is it good for kind of just the regular daily process, but it's extra important for people who are in any kind of energetic, intuitive, or self-care field.
So tell me about your energy practices that people can come to you for. What are some of the things that you offer?
A number of different things. Certainly Reiki, as a type of energy work, also kind of energy clearing or kind of working with people's chakras. In addition to that, other services would be things like mediumship, which is connection to see spirit loved ones, card readings, guide channeling, the birth charts, which are an exploration of the blueprint that you come in with, as well as synastry, which is an exploration of how your chart works with someone else's, which is really fascinating. And it gives
Oh,
you a lot of insight into relationship dynamics or partnership dynamics. So if one person's communication is a little bit different than yours, that would be relevant in the chart. And you can kind of see like, okay, here's why we bump here, or here's why we are so magnetized to each other there, or here's some little components over here that would indicate potentially a longer term relationship or even a past life connection. Here's this spot over here where we tend to bump each other's wounds.
huh.
So synastry is the exploration of the two charts together.
Wow.
Wonderful for doing with anybody, whether it's your parent dynamics, yourself
Mm.
with your children or your own parents, or your partner, even a best friend or a boss. It can give you more insight into the relationship as a whole,
Wow.
but also
So
past life
both,
exploration, which is one of my favorite things.
yeah, yeah. So when talking about the synergies, both people
Mhm.
would be kind of involved in that consultation, I guess, in terms of what Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that. That's like fascinating to me.
It is one of my favorite things to do because it
Mm.
gives us so much information and context and clarity.
Yeah.
Um, so it's something people can do together. Certainly, I recommend it as a shared activity. It's a great date night to kind of come in and learn more about those things together because it helps to take the pressure out of I'm doing this wrong or you're doing that wrong. And it's like, oh, that's just our default. That's why I default to this. And here's where my growth edge is. Here's where I can lean into that growth mindset. And here's what I can kind of look to enhance or empower within my chart. A birth chart is not the end all be all. It just speaks to our inner dynamics and defaults and predispositions. And there's an invitation to kind of grow within and beyond that as well. So it can be done together, but it can also be done solo. Uh, Either way, it is a really good way to, if someone comes in and they're asking questions, say they're coming in for cards, and they're asking questions about a relationship, I'm typically just going to pull their charts anyways if they have that information with them,
Mm.
because cards are wonderful to kind of look at the dynamics within a relationship, but the birth charts tell us why.
Wow. And tell me what information you are requiring when it comes, if somebody comes in for like a
Mhm.
solo reading, but what is it that you need? What information do you need to read that other person?
To pull a birth chart, you would just need your birth time, your birth date, and your birth location. A lot of people don't have their birth time. So there are some
Mm.
things we can do without the birth time. We can narrow down a lot of the stuff within someone's chart would probably be the same, their sun, their planets, the stuff that moves a little bit slower.
Yeah.
But a moon moves every few days. So a moon could move within the course of the same day. So
Mm.
we'll usually kind of reverse engineer and kind of check a few different times throughout the day to narrow down our options. Do we have just
Mhm.
one singular option throughout the day? Does it kind of change that day? And then your rising, your ascendant would be what changes the most dramatically, and that can be changed by a couple of minutes.
Mm.
So the rising is a great piece of information. And so the time makes a big difference, but there's a lot we can do without the time as well.
Hmm. Interesting. I have just a little personal story in terms of that because I definitely want to
Yeah.
dive more into that with you on, a service basis. But
Mhm.
I actually have two different times documented.
Interesting.
Yeah, on two separate like documents. So like my parents and
Mhm.
I, every single time my birthday comes up, it's like, were you born at this time or this time? And we kind of like celebrate that I was
Mhm.
born at two different times.
Yeah.
It's very interesting what you would think about that, and we can dive into that.
That is fascinating. I've never heard of that before. So what we would do is we'd pull both. We would pull both charts and then compare what the differences and contrast were.
Interesting.
If they're a similar enough time, you're probably not going to see a lot of difference.
Mm.
If they're different enough that it would change anything significant, we would talk about both options and then um, kind of a lot of people are self-aware enough to kind of think that okay, this one sounds more like me or this one kind of resonates more,
Yeah.
but we would talk about both options and what that would look like in your
Yeah.
life.
Wow. It's only 2 minutes apart, but there might be big changes. Who knows?
I
So,
mean, potentially the rising could change, but likely it would be the same chart either way. You could
yeah.
also try doing a pendulum or dowsing to see if it nailed on one or the other.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely look into that. So for people who are listening who maybe don't know or understand a little bit about like energy work. So you talked before about kind of energy clearing and chakras.
Mhm.
I am very familiar with chakras. I work with them all the time, but can you explain what chakras are and what kind of you're working with the energies?
Of course, that's a really great question. So a chakra is just it's considered an energy center or an energy wheel, and it's just different spots within the body that our inner energy communicates with the energy around us. And so those centers of energy can be affected by the things inside or outside of us. So a certain chakra would govern a part of the body, a section of the body and the organs there, as well as certain emotions that would be relevant to what that chakra kind of handles. So, for example, the heart chakra located in the heart center would govern that part of the body, the heart, the lungs, the chest. It would also govern the things that the heart kind of holds dominion over, like relationships, love, certain types of feelings. Whereas conversely, the crown chakra at the top of the head, would be that spiritual connection with the divine, as well as governing the brain and a lot of the important glands and stuff there that have to do with intuition and spirituality. Whereas the root chakra at the base of the spine would have to do with the legs and the structural system of the body. It's the chakra that is the earliest one for us to form. It's our earliest childhood chakra, and it has a lot to do because of that with safety and stability and belonging and the idea of home and core things like food and the finances we need to survive. It's a lot of fight or flight stuff in that chakra,
Yeah,
as well as the lower parts of the digestive system and reproductive system.
That's like our core basic needs of what we need to be as humans, right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, the chakras are so fascinating to me because, in my nursing practice, it's complementary because if somebody has a block somewhere, they may not realize that they have a block somewhere. And, you can work with energy, and our whole bodies are energy. And people don't realize that on a cellular level, you can change different parts of diseases and inflammation just by, sometimes the energy work that we do. And I have really embraced that in my nursing practice to be able to help people through, say, a difficult process, but also working on it myself. Like I try to do chakra cleansing for myself and do meditation so that I am balanced to be able to help other people to, get rid of any sort of limiting beliefs or blocks that they have. And people don't always realize that they have these blocks that are causing their pain, causing their diseases, right? It seems like it's totally different, the medical model versus kind of like the holistic model, but they are synergistic. And, if you can help one with their energy, then you're probably going to help their disease process.
Absolutely. I love that you bring that kind of holistic and complementary approach to it, because there's so many layers to what makes us not feel well, and that could be societal, and that could be institutional, and that could be internally or externally, whether it's in something in our food or our water, our air, our environment, the energy around us, our relationships, our work.
Yeah.
If something's off, it can kind of show up in those other areas as well.
Do you have one particular service that most people come to you for, or is it just kind of all over?
It's a little bit all over.
Yeah.
I would say that I would say probably mediumship or cards or energy work would be the most popular ones. Um, but it varies. It just depends on what someone needs, and oftentimes they'll come and try one thing and come back and try a different thing. So there's a lot of different options because I like to have options, and it keeps it fun and interesting for me. And it's different ways of using my energy. If I were to do one thing all the time, I think it would be a little bit more tiring. I know the days that are just mediumship back to back to back, I end up feeling pretty drained. So it's nice to have the versatility within the day.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing your story of how you became knowledgeable or intuitive with your own abilities to channel energy like this?
Of course. That's a great question. So a lot of it I've done since I was a kiddo, as a lot of us do. We're born with gifts and skills for intuition and mediumship and energy sensing. We just might not realize that. We're using the same skill sets that we would use to feel the warmth of the sun or feel the energy in the storm before it kind of hits, right?
Yeah.
So we have the abilities naturally to heal, or even to feel or to heal, I should say, and the sense of like energy work, right? If we bump our knee, even as a child, our instinct is to put our hand on that part of our body. We have this instinct for hands-on healing. And so I would say a lot of this stuff is instinctual. We've just lost that ability to tap into that instinct at times. So I did, as a child have some experiences, and I was lucky to be born in a open household, but not necessarily a household that was particularly educated in these modalities. So while it was open, it wasn't unusual to, pull a card or to talk about seeing spirit. There wasn't a lot of framework for how to do those things or how to do those things in the safest and most beneficial ways. So I shut a lot of it down when I was in my early teens, preteens, early teens, because it was so normal in my experience that I didn't realize it wasn't normal for other people. And then I
Yeah.
felt really weird about it and
Yeah. You didn't feel
uncomfortable
supported.
about it.
Yeah.
And so kind of blocked a lot of it, had these like a lot of different little breakthrough moments where it would kind of pop up here and there, but I didn't really, again, have a framework for it. Um, and so it was more so scary in those ways, to kind of wake up and hear my voice or hear my name called in the middle of the night, or
Oh.
to dream of a loved one passing and then having them actually pass. So
Mm.
there was no one to explain to me what that meant or how to work with that. So I just kind of tried to blanket shut it off.
Mhm.
And around the time of having kids, pregnancy is a portal, and it opened up a lot of it in a big way. And I started to do just little development classes just for myself, just for fun,
Yeah.
here and there. And at one point, I met with an intuitive, and we ended up. It was kind of a strange series of events, but she was like reading my cards, and she was like, "Oh, you're going to be doing this." And I was like, "You know what? I love what you do. I believe in what you do. I'm just
Mhm.
not intuitive." And she was like, "Oh, okay." And certainly, here I am. I've been doing this work professionally for like 14 years,
Wow.
12 years professionally.
Mm.
And she was right. And so I love to tell that story because a lot of people come in, they tell me that they're not intuitive, and I'm like, yes, you are. And I can start listing off these different experiences. Have you ever woke up with a song in your head and that song had a meaning for you, or you got in the car and that song came on, or you thought of someone and they crossed your path, or you felt the energy in the air before a storm, or you knew your loved one needed you and you called them, and sure enough, they were having a hard moment. All these different kind of quote unquote minor experiences of intuition. When we kind of get out of our own doubting brain, we can let them be the beautiful moments that they are.
Yeah, yeah. I think, from my perspective, a lot of nurses are intuitive. They don't really realize it.
Absolutely.
And, as caregivers and healers, there is a lot of intuitive feelings about that. When you walk into
Mm-hmm.
somebody's room, you might not even see them, but you can know that they're sick and you need to
Mm-hmm.
do something about that. I think it's a gift that nurses have. But I don't think that they embrace it as much, because if they have like a gut feeling, they may just be like, oh, well, their vital signs seem okay right now, but I think something else is going on. So I think that a lot of
Yes.
people have that, especially in the healing community, the medical
Mm-hmm.
community. And I would encourage everybody to embrace that. But you're right. I've heard from so many different resources that people are intuitive. Sometimes we just don't listen to it, or we don't tap into it.
Absolutely. And you are so right. The ways that it shows up in different fields or professions, definitely a lot of people who are drawn to nursing are going to be people with some innate healing ability.
Yeah.
And nurses are, I would say, one of the most intuitive fields, because
Mm.
think of how many people's lives have been saved because a nurse or a doctor, thought to ask some additional questions, or said, something doesn't seem right about this, or let me double check this.
Right.
But other examples would be, think about people, we talk about like the hunter's instinct, right? And people
Mm.
hunting and how they might know kind of, I just need to go over here for some reason, or fishing. I think this is a good spot.
Mm.
Or this just feels like it's going to be a winning spot, or
Yeah.
Even just us driving, right? I just feel like I should slow down up here. I wonder if there's a police officer ahead. I should slow down, right? That instinct that you have no way to describe why you know or feel that thing,
Mm,
but you do. Or just to that, people walking through the world and just knowing that they should kind of not be in that area at that time, right? And listen to
mm,
their body.
yeah,
So there's a lot of examples of how people use those deeper instincts or those deeper callings. A teacher, right? Or a
right.
therapist saying the right thing at the right time to the right person, or knowing exactly how to connect with a client or a student. Um,
Yeah,
these intuitive and innate abilities that we don't really have a name for, that's their name.
yeah, yep, I agree. And I think that there's a lot more information out there. There are so many different
Mhm.
modalities of healing, but there's a lot of science-based research that has gone
Yep.
into, in the past 20 years, more specifically, that people are figuring out that it is an actual thing. It's science-based,
Mhm.
and our bodies are all energy, and we're all connected in some way. And I was listening to an audiobook recently that talks about our cells in our body are the same component as stardust, as like the carbon that's in
Mhm.
our body. Like everything is related, and we need to embrace that with our energy and being able to relate to other people and to relate to the planet. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So bring me a little bit more into the how people can find you. Tell me about your best experience with how to connect with people. Is it just by referral, or are you finding that kind of social media has been a better way to get your messaging out there? Tell me about how you're letting people know about you.
Honestly, I do have social media, and I will say I can be a little lax in posting. So really, the core of my business is referrals,
Mm,
and repeat clients. And I feel really, really, really blessed and honored to say that, because that is the biggest compliment, right? If someone's enjoying what they experienced and they are either coming back or they're sharing that with somebody else, that's the most meaningful thing. So
yeah.
every the intention would always be for someone to have a meaningful and empowering experience. So that is
Mm,
really good feedback in that way, right? So
yeah.
I would just say largely it's referrals and repeat clients.
Okay, and that makes total sense because, sometimes if people don't know what services you have because you have such a vast variety of services, it's not easy to be able to market that because, you have so many things on your menu, on your services list that, people can get overwhelmed by that. So I think that that is an amazing way for people to find you is through somebody else with their experiences. So if anybody in our audience would like to reach out to you and figure out what other services that you provide as well as what you could help them with, tell us how somebody could reach you.
They can reach me through my website, carolynrosepsychicmedium.com, or through social media. Instagram would be the same name, Carolyn Rose Psychic Medium. Facebook, I believe it's Carolyn Rose Intuitive on Facebook.
Okay.
But it's the same idea. Uh, So that would be it. And then the Wellness Center is Wild Woman Wellness Center online. It would be wildwomanwellness.us on as a website, and then Wild One Wellness Center on Instagram and Facebook. Again, our social media is probably a little bit underutilized, just because we're busy in the office connecting
Yeah.
face to face. So,
Yeah.
um, which
What's
is
interesting about that is that, people are, constantly talking about the different content that needs to be out there on the different platforms. But
Mhm.
I find that even if I can only get a little information about a practitioner, that to me means that they are probably too busy to do it because they're taking care of their clients, they're taking care of their patients, their referrals, all of that, and don't need to get that messaging out there. So I think that in that aspect, if I find that somebody's website just has a little information, that doesn't deter me because I know that they're probably, just working with clients on such a busy level that that's probably the person that I want to go to. If they have like an amazing website that has like a million things interacting, that doesn't appeal to me as much. So I think that even though you're not able to get a lot of the social media stuff out there, that's okay because there's so much content that the people that need to come to you will come to you organically. And I think that's what's been happening.
Oh, that is a really interesting perspective. I didn't think of it that way. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I love seeing people out there creating and the stuff that they're doing. I think it's so it's such a type of creativity, right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful type of creativity to do that, and it also takes a lot of time and energy and effort. So I have lots and lots of respect for people out there doing their thing, content creation wise. And there's just not enough hours in the day. I'm a
Yeah.
single mom with two beautiful teenage girls and running two businesses. So
Mm.
people will have to find me the old fashioned way.
Yep.
But I love what people are out there creating too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we will definitely link all of your information to this podcast so that people will be able to find you. And I definitely encourage people to find you because I have really embraced your services, and I
Oh,
love, when we get together and, have our energy work. I feel that it's really valuable, and I think a lot of people would also feel it was valuable. So thank you so much for being here.
thank you. Thank you for having me today. Thank you for coming in and trying it. It's been amazing to connect. It's been so much fun to get to know you in this way. So thank you for the chance and the opportunity to do those things.
Perfect. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope that everybody listening has a wonderful day as well. And definitely reach out to Carolyn for her services. She's amazing.